You join me. Father God, we just come to you now and we thank you and praise you for this beautiful day. Lord, we thank you that we're one day closer to the rain that you're sending to our land. We just ask that you send it abundantly, Lord, and just bless all of our farmers and our ranchers, our, everyone that needs it. Lord, our land is just very dry, and you know the drought that we're in, and we just thank you for the rain that you are sending. Lord, we just pray your special blessing on each and every county employee and their family. We ask that you keep them safe and that you protect and provide for them. Lord, we thank you for the men and women that proudly serve our nation and that are keeping us safe. We don't take that lightly. We ask a special prayer on our president, First Lady. Lord, please just continue to heal them and everyone affected by COVID. We just thank you for all the work that you're doing in our nation. We ask that you're with these commissioners and that you guide them and direct them as they make decisions to impact the county. We thank you for all that you do in Jesus' name. Amen.
Oh, I have a mic now. We have several employees that we'd like to recognize for their years of service. Eric Mueller from the Sheriff's Office, who is not present. We will make sure that he gets his certificate. Lieutenant Clay Layer from the Detention Center. This is recognizing 1 year of service. Sergeant Victor Matas from Detention Center. He also has been here 1 year. Many more to come. Sergeant Brad Johnson from the Detention Center, 1 year of service, or 3 years of service. Sorry, Brad. Detention Administrator Justin Porter, 3 years of service. Miss Victoria Ramos from the Treasurer's Office, 5 years of service. And we have 2 road employees. Pete Encinias has been here 10 years, And Sam Garcia has been here 15 years. We'll make sure they get their certificate. So thank you all for all that you do. We couldn't run this county without you. Thank you. You look pretty.
Commissioners, update on the facility. The facility count is 53 today. We have 9 females and 44 males. Currently, we're housing 11 detainees from other counties. Total number of bookings for September is 67. The total number of releases in September was 60. Billing for the month, prepared billing that went out for Union County was $21,000. Some other things that are going on within the facility. Last week, we transported 8 detainees to prison. The update on our tablet system, we have switched over to the new network that's supposed to support the new tablet system for the detainees. So they've started the testing of that to make sure that it's going to work. And then they started testing the wireless access points so that that tablet system will give them some of that access is getting closer to being rolled out. So we're expecting once that testing gets done, we'll start testing the actual tablets themselves and making sure everything is working and communicating appropriately. Our tracking system is in the testing phase as well. It's communicating with our jail management system, so we're trying to make sure that all the housings reflect correctly and accurately, and that any entry we put into either platform responds to both. So we're doing testing there, so that should be rolling out and working here shortly as well. As far as our facility maintenance, the kitchen has been undergoing some changes and updates, so we're almost completely done. All the equipment has been installed. We're waiting on a couple things to finish up, along with some parts for the fridge and freezer. We got the rooftop parts in, but the parts that actually go in the cooler are not quite here yet. So once those are installed and we get some connections, we'll be completed with our kitchen project, which will be a great thing. We have replaced some AC units on the building already. We're waiting for 2 more to be replaced within the next 2 weeks. That will be replacing 5 air conditioning units for the facility. We've got painting and refurbishing being done throughout the facility. As we make day rooms empty, we start repainting, cleaning them up, getting them ready, trying to get them back to where they started so that we create an environment that hopefully they appreciate and take care of a little bit longer. We have 1 person in our academy right now, and then we're continuing with some of our COVID stuff, and I'll fill you in with some of that. I know we're all tired of COVID, but I'm still going to fill you in. We're still continuing our enhanced cleaning and disinfecting, so we're cleaning the building and all the working areas multiple times throughout the day. We're using staff, we're using detainees. Training and education for both staff and detainees continues on the importance of staying clean, PPE, what they need to do, and so, all the way down to social distancing. Screening of staff and detainees happens multiple times a day. Changes to the intake and housing procedures continue to come down with changes from the state on how long people need to be separated, how many times people need to be tested, along with what needs to happen before somebody can return to work if they've been exposed. So we're trying to stay up to date with that and sharing our information with HR so we can continue to follow those recommendations at this time. We were working with the sheriff's office on a screening tool for transports that we've been able to roll out. It's been successful, and it's just a tool that gives the sheriff's department the questions that we would need whenever they're brought in so that they can ask those questions before we go get them in hopes that we can minimize any exposure from other facilities. Because we have an experience in the past where a facility didn't give us complete accurate information. So the sheriff's department brought us somebody and it caused a concern for both departments. So we're trying to minimize that as best we can. So we work together to create a form that along with us and our medical department, we can tell them whether the individuals are going to be safe to go get or communicate the concerns to the courts. So hopefully we can minimize that risk to our staffs. And then finally, testing for the facility. We administered 261 COVID tests just within inside the facility last month. That's over 200 for detainees and right around 60 for the staff. So if people are wondering if we're testing our staff or we're not, we're testing our staff, we're testing the detainees, we're testing the intakes, and it's a process and it's something that doesn't stop. We're just, every week we're testing a new group of detainees and a new group of staff to ensure that we're taking all the precautions and keeping everybody inside the facility safe. So, and with that, I will stand for any questions.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may add, I just want to again commend Justin and his staff. It is phenomenal to see that they have been so effective at their facility management. We have had numerous exposures, potential exposures. We have had staff come back initially and test positive. And I think it speaks for the level of detail that is practiced daily at the facility by the team to see that we have not yet had to experience a mass level of infection. And they have been able to contain and control and mitigate so well. And the staff have done a fantastic job of continuing to work together and to test because, as we all know, or many of us know, testing every week or every 2 weeks is not a fun experience. And so that is not something that we take lightly. But when we see several of our neighboring counties dealing with very substantial outbreaks within their populations of confinement, I just want to encourage and again thank you and your staff for the work that y'all are doing at the facility. It is not something that we can take lightly. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
What's the turnaround on the testing? Has it gotten better?
It has gotten better. You know, at one point we were experiencing as much as 14 days before we were getting all the test results back. Now we're under 7 regularly. So, and a lot of that will just have to do with, like our neighboring counties, for example, have had some positives, so they have to implement this large testing. And so I know that that overloads the labs and stuff. But for the most part, we're getting everything within about 7 days, sir. Yeah, I was going to wait. Do you want me to do that now? Okay. Also, I have to present to you my quarterly report for our restrictive housing, and our report again reports that we had no people that qualified to be identified as restrictive housing for that quarter. So with that, I'll stand for any questions. It's a very good thing, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Ricky Lovato.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and Commissioners. The team has been very busy the last couple of weeks. We finished up our capital outlay of $383,000. So all the paperwork is in administration office, and Carol's finishing that up to get it sent off to the state. We also finished our LGRF 2020. And again, all the paperwork's turned in to Carol, and she's just finishing up her end to get it to the state. So those are done. We'll be starting LGRF 2021 as soon as we get our certs back from railroad and let's see here, environmental, utility, historical, and right away. When we get those certs back, we can start our LGRF 2021, which hopefully will be within the next month. We started we're going to chip seal today, South Roosevelt Road 7 from 70 to S. Sometime after this meeting, we'll get that going. I have a team on North Roosevelt Road D. That road had blue, and it was super narrow. It was about maybe 12, 15 foot wide. And we've continued to get out there and move the sand, and we're building the road back up so the farmers can move their tractors and big implements up and down that road. We also have a crew out off on Baseline, off of the Floyd Highway, fixing that lake bottom. We should have that one done hopefully next week. We continue to patch and fix roads, so it's a lot of roads, so we're trying to get around as fast as we can. So if y'all will just let us know where the bad places are at, we will get there. And I stand for any questions. Thank you.
Miss Hamilton.
Yes, good morning, Madam Vice Chair and Commissioners again. Just a few things that I wanted to update you on. We are continuing to monitor the U.S. Drought Monitor. That is what we use to guide all of our response, and in terms of if we need to be looking at any kind of burn ban. We have not been approached yet by any of the fire department chiefs, so we continue to have that. And right now at this point, it has us in a severe drought, which we typically wait for the extreme drought level to be able to do that. But wanted y'all to know that we're continuing to monitor that very closely. I'm not really sure how we're not in extreme at this point. I think we can all feel that way after seeing our pastures and land. But at this point, we continue to monitor that. And if and when that point arises, then we will bring those types of resolutions before you for consideration. The next thing, we do have Excel officials that will be attending the November 9th meeting, which will be our next meeting. They have updated us. Deliveries should be complete in October, and the towers are to be up and complete by the end of October as well. They are on task, on target, on timeline, and just rolling through that project. It's amazing to see how many changes are happening within a week or two. Rick and I have been out there driving roads and working closely with them. We will also have an agreement, an addendum to our road use agreement, because we've identified nine miles of additional roads. There's 4 roads that we've added additional that were part of the project, but they did not identify them initially. And so Mr. Knudsen was kind enough to work up that addendum, and we have submitted it to them for the draft. They will be providing all of the material, the cost, the water. We'll provide the labor and equipment, but they'll be reimbursing the county for that as well. And so it's a really great deal for us, because that's another critical part of that infrastructure out there that we will actually be responsible for repairing. And it works really well for Excel as well as the county. It's been a really good partnership. They've been very responsive and very supportive. And the minute we have any kind of safety concerns or roads, they have been right there. And so I think it's going to be a wonderful project in partnership, per se, between these entities. The next thing that is, and I will share the PowerPoint, but they provided the update that was provided to the Legislative Finance Committee, and y'all may have seen some of this coming out of Santa Fe, but they Tax and Rev, as well as the Department of Finance, provided updates to the Legislative Finance Committee on what we were looking at. Currently in New Mexico, just a few of the highlights. New Mexico unemployment rate peaked in July at 12.7% and is down to 11.3% here in August. We peaked in July and we were at 10.3%, and we are now at 8.8% in Roosevelt County, specific to our areas. Since the pandemic began, most sectors have been negatively impacted by unemployment, and that includes everything from government, education, trade, construction, manufacturing, mining, leisure, hospitality, utilities, local government, everything. Federal government and retail trade were the only 2 that boasted minor or some growth. In retail trade, it was 0.8 at 700 jobs, and the federal government grew by 2,100 jobs, which was set just over 7%, but that was again due to the decennial count. So we know that those are very short-term in their numbers. Of course, the most severe employment declines in August that we've seen through that is leisure and hospitality, as well as mining and oil and gas. So those were no big surprises there yet. Probably the most sobering thing for me in this, one of the things in this report was talking about the New Mexico employment recovery. And Moody Analytics projects that New Mexico will recover to pre-COVID-19 employment levels in 2025. So I'll just let that one sit there for a minute. Pretty humbling. In terms of New Mexico oil production, New Mexico currently has 41 rigs. This represents a 63% decline in our rig count. The peak was in March at 114. So New Mexico oil prices averaged 14.39 per barrel in April, and the average price for fiscal year 44 overall was $44. So that was the saving grace for that part of our fiscal year budget for the state. They do anticipate seeing additional decline. They are projecting even prices to stay in the low 40 a barrel. And if rig counts remain in the low 40s with all of the uncertainty, it is expected to be a significant decline in fiscal year 21, and that is what they are bracing for. So that was the brief update. I will share with y'all because it is a very lengthy PowerPoint. So I will share with y'all. I just wanted to cover some of the highlights because I think the unemployment was probably the most sobering for me to see what we're looking at as a state, potentially to recover just to a whole of where we were before this. And then the last bit of news is that y'all will recall that FEMA came in and conducted some baseline engineering. They did a survey back in 2018, it's about June, and they shot LiDAR and did several new enhancements to collect data in our area. And this data was just provided to me as of yesterday from Mr. Montiel. We do have a scheduled introduction call scheduled tomorrow, which is on Wednesday. They remap every 10 years. I did meet with the city yesterday just for an initial discussion. Mr. Standifer was kind enough to invite me in when they had Lydic Engineering over just to, again, make sure that we were all on the same page and part of this process, because it does not look to be a promising process for our landowners in the county. There looks to be some very adverse impacts potentially. We have been a Zone D for many, many years, and we've never had to have classifications. And now they have come in and shot this radar, and there will be impacts to our homeowners. Anyone that has a mortgage, it can impact land sales. There's just a lot of unknowns, and it's a great cause for concern at this point. So I really want it to be on your radar, because I know there's going to be more questions. I know that some of the towns have received some of the information as well. There will be some significant impacts on the village of Floyd, for instance. So I will share with y'all those maps, and I should have some more information following tomorrow, and then we will start this process. It looks like about an 18-month process is what the initial estimates are to adoption, but it does look to have some positive things for the city of Portales, which, as we know, is the most substantial part of our population base for Roosevelt County. So the hopes are that we see some benefit from this, but it is also apparently a very challenging process. Mr. Standifer has been through this once before, so he shared some of those experiences. So just want y'all to be aware that that's on the horizon, that is coming. This was initially presented to us that we would be able to collect the data, and then we wouldn't necessarily have to do anything with the zones if it was going to be adverse to our county residents. However, that is not the information that we're being provided at this point. It's no longer optional and everything. They're here, and something's going to change. So just want y'all aware of that. And other than that, I would stand for any questions.
All great news here. They will check in kind of like COVID, like, you know, where how the retail, we try to get
So the way that no one can accurately track that, and I have spoke with Tax and Rev, I've spoke with the governor's office. I mean, we've had several conversations with those that are looking and speaking with the statewide economists, because there's multiple. I mean, obviously, Doña Ana County and Las Cruces are going to be the same thing with Mexico State. I mean, there's several of us university towns, even the community colleges, to some level. So we have raised that concern from the very beginning, as you're aware, and there is no way at this point to put any dollars to it. The GRT, we're continuing to monitor very closely and look at those numbers. What we're seeing, though, is always 2 months behind. So when you collect August GRT, is when the students should start to come in. Then it's processed at the state in September, and it's awarded and allocated to us mid-October. So by mid-October, we'll have August numbers to where we can start to begin to compare, but we do not have any specific data and analytics as it ties to Eastern. We can just tell you that instead of the 5,000 students, 4,000 to 5,000 that we might have in town, they're estimating that we're seeing, a couple hundred that are actually in town. Yes, sir.
Cheery message. You have anything else, Amber?
Madam Chair, I mean, I can address why the issues in this line item. One with
Whatever you want to do. Do you want? Go ahead.
Boston Live, you and I have talked about it. Have you got any update on that? Progress on that road?
So later in your agenda, we actually have the new contract set to be awarded for hauling of materials. The last quote that we provided to the city on that joint proposed project was a couple of years ago, as you saw. I think it was October of 18. And so we know that the prices for the material have changed, and we want to get the final cost for the trucking. And then Mr. Lovato will be updating the pricing quote for that and then providing it to the city.
And then, Livingston Highway, you can log on with highway details. There was a lot of operating last week. Is that going to be another kind of job, or what are they looking at?
That I don't have any information on in terms of what they're doing. I do know that we received the update on the striping that was a concern. I know Commissioner Dixon had spoken with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, as well as our Representative Phelps Anderson.
Westboro was more.
Well,
not even fought so hard. Westboro, that is not really it's a need, and I'm really hard like perform oriented. I don't care, but it's horrible when there's so I was just wondering if there was a safety.
they're working on striping, so that's the next thing that they'll be mobilizing.
Anyway, lastly, I give kudos to Amber for the presentation for that she represented on behalf. Very, very well, so good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Commissioners, Paul. Dennis, you have anything else?
Let's see what we do.
You're good. Okay, I wanted to tell you, thank you for your help on the 330-114 thing last week. I also got a call last night on 330 again, the weeds on the side of the road there, that early of a morning, there's several there's deer and there's antelope and stuff that are running out into the road, and it's causing a hazard. There was a cow hit there like a month ago. So anyway, the weeds are still a big problem on 330.
They are now going back to shed. They pulled that whole crew from maintenance yard to help at specialized people. This whole summer they didn't help with the ships. Now they get back to what they're supposed to do all summer.
Okay.
When I got from the guy out there.
Okay. Oh, I saw him shredding, right. Right. Okay, thank you. I explained to him that that was a state road, though. Okay. New business. Item A, request for approval of modification of the Roosevelt County Healthcare Complex by La Casa. Mr. Montaño and Amber.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, Manager Hamilton, first of all, I'd like to thank you for, for having the opportunity to come before you. There's a few things we would like to do at La Casa. We built a canopy on the south side of the building, and Amber called me or sent an email, I believe, reminding me that if we're going to do any major changes to the building, that we had to get the commission's approval. We've been in the building for 24 years. I think this is probably the first time that we do any changes to the building, so I apologize for not coming before you previously, but a couple or three things we'd like to do, get your approval on. One is that we want to do some renovation in the inside of the building to add 3 more operatories for our dental chairs. We had an architect design it, and we have the plans, and it's going to run probably close to 150, 200,000 to do the actual renovation and equipping of the facility. The second thing we'd like to do is to build a storage unit to keep all of our equipment and stuff and materials and things that we put into storage. And it would be built on the south side of the building, probably next to Los Abuelitos, bordering the parking lot there, and it'd probably be a 30 by 40 or, with whatever we can afford to do. But that would give us because right now we're renting storage all over town, not only here, but in Clovis and Roswell also rent. So we'd like to do that so that we can have it closed to be more secure, and it would be less costly on the long run. The other thing we would like to do, I'd like to hire a landscaping architect to redesign the front of the area that's planted in grass, to do a xeriscape because of the cost of water, and because there's not that much water in Portales to begin with. I think that if we could do that, it would certainly save us money as well as make it a lot more presentable. We all like grass, but that's a lot of money that we spend. I think our bill during the summer to the city is about $2,000 a month. So we'd like to do that. I think what else. Right now we're in the process of re-flooring the part of the facility. We're repainting. We'll be installing some electric doors because of the handicap access to this facility here. We're doing it in Clovis and Roswell also. But so we're doing a lot of updates on the building that are required because of the age of it. It's 24 years old. So I come before you to ask authorization to go ahead and proceed with that. No, we'll be paying for it.
Paul, how do you vote? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. In closing, I just wanted to thank Amber for her assistance. We're hopefully going to get a new roof on that building sometime before the end of the year. And when I approached her and Commissioner Lopez about the roof, actually it had already, the submission of your wish list or whatever you call it had lapsed, and she went back and was able to get it into the budget, into the request. I think it was Representative Zamora was able to get some funding, not the entire funding, but and we also had a claim on the roof. So thank God, because that roof needs to be replaced. And I thank her for her hard work, and thank you, Dennis.
And also keep in mind, so I'd like to reflect that we had to get the blessing from the other four commissioners as well, so they were all on board, and they gave me and Amber the green light for us to advocate on this at the meeting.
Well, thank you all. But so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Item B, discussion of 2020 hail damage claim process progress. Amber Hamilton.
Yes, so I will start with the one that Mr. Montano led into there at La Casa. So the first building that we're looking at, in terms of La Casa and the roof damage, we did receive $175,000 in capital outlay. So as we were already planning to do some type of roof replacement, we know that that building is a concern. That is not an adequate amount to fund fully the part, but that was also a roof that was substantially damaged in the hail claim. Initially, they did not have a dollar value, but I asked them nicely to come back and look at that again. And the second time that they did the inspection, they granted us a claim of $109,459. So between that and the 175, we feel that we are going to be able to go in there with a new roofing system. It'll be a TPO again, but we're looking at putting in walkways and such, and we've met with some engineering assistance to be able to help us with the specifications. So we're hoping to release that bid within the next 30 days. And then depending on award and weather, of course, we will be getting a new roof as quickly as we can. So that's one of the ones. The next one is the courthouse. We did receive a replacement or a quote for the enhancement. And again, so we're approaching and exceeding potentially a $2 million mark, just so we're all clear on the 2020 hail damage that we all suffered in June. So it's about just over 200,000 in vehicle damage that we're getting repaired. And then the buildings are likely going to be somewhere around the estimated mark of 1.8 million. So as far as the courthouse goes, it's just under $200,000 worth of damage that was done over there that we are getting replaced. We have that pending in front of the insurance review. And the wonderful thing about all of this, of course, is that we do have insurance. We have a one-time deductible of $2,500. This is all one event, one catastrophic event. They typically see one of these a year. That's the fantastic thing about having pooled insurance and having New Mexico County's insurance authority is we're able to work through these things. So we have just at, I believe we're at 40 vehicles that we're working on replacement. I have a substantial list and maintain those and track every check number and PO and every detail so we can ensure we get reimbursed from our insurance. And we're working on buildings now. So we've authorized the extension office repair, the district attorney's office repair, the enterprise center repair. We will be working on La Casa. We're getting quotes on the public health center and Los Abuelitos so that we can get those repaired. But basically every roof that the commission is responsible for sustains some type of damage. Perhaps the most encouraging part has to do with the detention center. In terms of the detention center was on our list of capital outlay projects for a new roof. We're getting in dire need over there as well. We have two systems on that roof. And so we were really wanting to look at a new roof and going to one system. However, with the claim, it looks, I believe we're just shy of, let me just be exact here. So for the detention center, we're just at 337,000, just over, in terms of claim damage. And that actually, we had our roofing contractors come in and take a look at that last week. They are going to be flying drones over to make sure that we don't have any insulation damage, the R value, and things along those lines. But initially, it looks like we can actually do a repair on the existing and have modified roofs and have them enhanced back in utilizing the existing systems that are up there, and look at having an initial 10-year warranty with the potential of an additional 20 years of life out of both of those roofs. So I was very excited to see that. I'm very encouraged at that point. That is my recommendation at this point, is that we consider utilizing the insurance funds, because if we don't need to have to replace the entire roof, now that we can do a modified system with the replacement, then that will alleviate a huge burden on our capital outlay requests as well. And this past year, y'all recall, we received some of our projects that we really, we didn't get any road projects done. Those were all vetoed. And so I know that if there is any chance for capital outlay, it will be very competitive and potentially not a huge fund as it has been in some of the years when they had the excess budget. So at this point, we do have it listed as under new business, because of course, if y'all feel very strongly on a different direction and you want to see us instead just try to continue to pursue capital outlay and go out for bid on the law enforcement complex, then that's something that we can definitely do. It's your choice. I would just recommend at this point that we actually could look at the route with the insurance and go with the modified systems. And if we can get 20 years out of the existing roofs, I feel like that's, I mean, I feel comfortable recommending that for our limited budget. And I have several other roofs, so anything y'all want to talk buildings on or roofing or anything along those lines, please let me know. But Gary and I have a goal of getting 10 flying, or TPO, or whatever you want to say, as quick as possible. The courthouse roof is definitely the best one that y'all have. So congrats. We have hurricane quality roofing on the courthouse, so that has been the saving grace up there. But again, we're trying to use local contractors as much as possible. We found that some of them are willing to give us competitive quotes, and some of them I think are very, very busy and we're not able to. So we're using as many locals as we can. Some of these jobs are going to exceed our ability here locally, and so we're trying to see who we can use locally before going outside. The La Casa bid will be one that more than likely will not have a local contractor that will result in that. I would stand for any questions on any of the hail damage claim stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7. A consideration of resolution 2020-28 CARES Small Business Grant. Oh, sorry. I skipped C, my bad. You're right. C, request for approval of asset disposal of 4 vehicles from the sheriff's office and detention center.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioner. So these 4 vehicles that we have a 2003 Dodge, a 2007 Ford Explorer, a 2010 GMC Tahoe, and a 2011 Dodge 1500. They are at mileage and need disposal. And so we're preparing for a larger type auction of several of the things that we have pending, as y'all are aware. So these are 4 more things that we would like to include. And then at the next meeting, we will have potentially some additional items for y'all so that we can have everything ready for that. And it will be by public auction. I forgot to put that, so we have to put it in the minutes. Sorry.
I'll second. Dennis? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Now we'll go to 7A. Consideration of Resolution 2020-28, CARES Small Business Grants Budget Adjustment. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioner. So what's included in this budget adjustment in your grants primarily focuses on the small business grants that we were allotted. We were awarded $239,625. We set aside $625 for contract services as we did set up. Ms. Crow was able to help us set up a very customized application process on our website, which has been fantastic. It allows all of our applicants to submit the application online and upload all of the necessary forms, which is a substantial amount of documentation. And then the other $239,000 we have delegated to be able to be awarded to our small businesses. So very excited to see that at this point. As of last night, we had 9 applications that had come in. We have a couple of them that may not be able to be qualified, but we do look to have those. And we have an initial meeting with a small subcommittee that's just reviewing those, and we're going to try to get those moving as quick as possible. As you're aware, Commissioner Greider is serving on that one. We just share the fun among all of y'all. So we are looking to begin that process shortly. The other thing that we did note is adjusting the gross receipts tax again, as we have seen a spike in our GRT, as we're aware, in the Sagamore Wind Project under the construction utilities. Those are one-time things that we're closely monitoring. And I do have those GRT reports, and I'm happy to share those with you so that you can see the month-to-month breakdown. Once I get the October numbers in, I will share those so y'all can see those fun things. But those are the only 2 items that are on this budget adjustment.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-28. Dennis?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Consideration of Resolution 2020-29, adopting the revised Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office policies and procedures. Sheriff Parker.
Morning, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners. This is our policy. We finally got it complete. It's been a labor of love, hate, but it's finally done. It's revised since the one that Darren originally put in. And the reason we're bringing it here before y'all is because the last time a sheriff's office policy is a standalone policy, but we're bringing it before y'all to get a paper trail started in a date of revision so that this can become a living, breathing document again, as all the life had seemed to went out of it before. Javier and Shanna worked diligently on this for quite some time, and I think we finally got it through Randy's office. And I think Amber had some revisions too that she wanted and that we agreed with, so I think everybody's on board with it. If y'all have any questions about this policy, I'd be glad to answer it. I'm sure y'all went over it in depth. It's a big one, but anyways, I have, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Yes. I'll second. Dennis?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Request for approval of notice of intent 2020-01 Roosevelt County Personnel Ordinance. Ms. Oles.
Good morning again, Madam Vice Chair, members of the commission. I would ask for you to approve a notice of intent 2021-01 to revise the existing personnel ordinance. As you know, this document changes with things that are happening in the world, with the changes in laws and regulations. At this time, the changes that are proposed are wording changes mostly. So I stand for any questions.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent 2020-01. Paul? Dennis?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Request for approval of contract award in response to ITB 2021-01 for hauling of road materials to C&K Cattle. Ms. Rivera.
Good morning. So we recently released an ITV for hauling of road materials. I'd like to request the approval the contract be awarded to C&K Cattle LLC. They were our lowest bid that we received.
We got a motion and a second. Paul, how do you vote? Yes. Dennis? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more request. Request for approval of contract renewal for chip seal aggregate with K Barnett and Sons Inc. They were one that we also procured last year, if you recall. So we'd like to request a renewal.
I'll make a motion. We approve contract renewal for chip seal aggregate with K Barnett and Sons. Got a motion and a second. Dennis? Paul? Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We don't need to do it. Okay, and we can, where were you, Paul? Okay, so we will omit executive session. Media. All right. Meeting adjourned.